Good morning, good morning! Kamusta kayong lahat? How are you all doing? And today we are making some cookies, all right? And this is not your typical cookie because we will be making a banana and nut butter cookies. We're going to use one large banana. I will give you the measurements later on. And definitely we're going to need some nut butter. So in this case, we're not going to use any butter at all, but there is a variation where you can use butter if you prefer to have butter in the taste. But for this one, we're going to use natural mixed nuts with seeds. And for our sweetener, we have a combination of brown sugar and granulated white sugar. And we will not be using regular all-purpose flour for this one, but instead we are going to jam pack it with some protein powder and we will see how it goes. All right, and aside from that, of course, we need to have a little bit of leavening agent, some salt for contrast taste. Okay, all right, so as I was mentioning, you will need 2 bowls, but you don't necessarily need 2 bowls. You can do this with just 1 bowl if you prefer. And then there's your teaspoon just for grabbing stuff, or if you have a measuring spoon if you want to be conscious with it and more exact with it. But that's why I have my trusty weighing scale, because I prefer measurements by weighing scale instead of measuring spoons. And then we have our fork for mashing the banana. If you have a masher, you can use that as well. And then I have a scraper, spatula, all right? And of course, the whisk. You can also use a fork for that, okay? So all of those things out of the way, we will go ahead and make our banana nut cookies. Let's go ahead and start off with our banana. Now, this banana is an organic banana. Ideally, it doesn't necessarily have to be overripe, but the more ripe it is, the better. If you don't have an overripe banana, you can always soften it up in a microwave, okay? Or just heat it up so it's easier to mash. All right, so here we are with our banana. If you don't have a super large banana, I have 199 or roughly 200 grams of banana here with me, okay? And first things first is we are going to just mash the banana with our fork here. Now that our banana is nicely mashed and soft, vanilla is optional, but it does have great taste paired with a banana. We are going to add our second star ingredient, which is our nut butter. With this one, we are going to add 100 grams of nut butter. This is going to provide the fats instead of our regular butter. 60 grams of brown sugar, 40 grams of granulated sugar, and then a teaspoon of vanilla. After all our wet ingredients are together, we are just going to combine them. We'll set it aside. And now we are going to work on our dry ingredients. We're going to start off with our main dry ingredient, which is our protein powder, and we're gonna need 150 grams of protein powder. I'm using a chocolate flavored lean fit whey protein, 1.3 grams of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder or 5 grams. Mix and combine everything here. You've got your dry ingredients all combined and your wet ingredients all combined. Now it's time to bring them both together. We're going to mix the wet ingredients or the dry ingredients to the wet. We're going to mix in little by little. This way we avoid having clumps. Now the nice thing about this nut butter is that even though it's high in fat, but it's not high in saturated fats. The saturated fat in diet is what our liver converts to cholesterol into our blood. You will notice that this is a fairly wet batter, as you see here, okay? So you won't be able to shape this into a ball once you have them all together. And at this point in time, you can put in any mix-ins you like. You can put chocolate chips, you can put seeds, nuts, whatever you like as mix-in, maybe dried fruits, raisins, craisins, whatever crazy stuff you want to put in. Everything here is totally edible. Unlike when you're using flour, you have to make sure you cook the flour before you eat it. We're gonna have our pan lined with some parchment paper. We're gonna use a teaspoon to measure out each dollop, okay? It's going to be an approximate, and it is pretty sticky, and it just smells amazing. So roughly a tablespoon, and this will make for about 9 spaced out in here. So just continue on doing this. I'm not the best at putting them on. So roughly we should have made about 9 of these in one sheet of pan, but I was only able to put in 8 right now. But that doesn't matter because we still have a ton over here, so we're gonna cook them by batch. So right now, off to the oven we go. Here we are at the oven. So we're just going to put in our settings first. So we're gonna bake for 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're gonna bake it for we'll do 12 minutes. Now 10 to 14, you just gotta watch out for when it's cooked and done. Usually you'll be able to smell it. That's how you know it's already cooked. Or if you want a visual, if you want to see it visually, then I would say what you would see is the sides will be browning and the middle will be still a little bit wet. So when it comes to that, that means your cookie is cooked. But again, this all depends whether you want a crispy, crunchy cookie or you want a nice, soft and chewy cookie. So baking time between 10 to 14 minutes roughly, and just suit it to your taste. All right, so we'll wait for the oven to heat up. It's not gonna take too long. Then we're gonna slide it in, and I'll see you when it's all done and ready. Now our oven is ready. It's all preheated, and all we need to do is just pop in our little tiny cookies and get it started. All right, so finally our banana nut butter cookies are done, but instead of cookies, they turned out to be more like bread. So this is actually the second batch now, and I think I've overcooked it a little, so it's much darker, but nevertheless, it's got that crunchy outside and a nice and bready inside. But that is because that's just how when you mix bananas in, that's how they turn out, you know. Let me have the first taste. Let me show you what it looks like on the inside. There we go. You see that? That is just fantastic. So it looks kind of burnt, but actually the taste is real good, right? Oh, bottom is burnt. So I'll say for this one, I guess depending on, I put it on for 12 minutes in my air fryer oven, but if I'm going to cook another batch of this, I'll probably move it down more between 6 to 8 minutes. But again, your oven might work differently, so you'll have to find the right heat adjustment for your when you make this recipe. So nevertheless, the combination of the banana and the protein powder, this was rather unexpected. I was expecting it to be a cookie, especially with the very wet batter, but it turned out to be more like a bread. Bread with a nice and crispy crust. So there you go. It's very nice and sweet. And the flavor of the nut with the banana just tastes really, really good. So that said, we'll put out the macros right here and show it for a little bit longer. And as mentioned, this is pretty calorie dense. It's high calorie, but that whole batch that I made, it made for a total of 18, depending on how much you put in. So between 16 to 18 pieces of these. It's still very good for snacking and dessert. And if you top it with some whipped cream or some cream cheese, it will elevate this so much more, so much more. Now, if you do want something more healthy, packed with protein and fiber, check out the, I'll put it up on the description right up here. Make sure you check out our lentil wrap video. It's very, very tasty. It's very customizable too, and it really makes for a really, really good meal. Anyway, that said, keep it healthy, keep it fit, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.